Did you buy 1-inch diameter dowels and they don't fit in 1-inch diameter holes because they're not really 1 inch? Well, there's an easy solution to adjust the dowel so it will fit in the hole. Just like that. It's not pretty, but it works pretty well. I like to call it the Dowel Adjustor. I started by drilling a 1-inch diameter hole in this piece of scrap, and then I ripped it on the table saw to get close to the top of the hole. I think I cut off a little bit too much. It really should just be poking, just barely poking through, and that's what you're going to put your chisel on. Kind of like a pencil sharpener, like that. Now, I used a 70-degree angle, which is more like about that, when I clamped it down. And to adjust for the fact that I cut this too close or too deep on the table saw when I ripped it, I put a piece of 120 grit sandpaper on the top. And that did two things. That actually allowed the clamps to hold this better, and it raised the chisel, the cutting edge, just a tad, which worked perfect. I just clamped my chisel in place. Now you want to make sure that this chisel is clamped really well. When the wood is going through, the chisel is cutting the wood that extends beyond the hole that you're looking for, the diameter that you're looking for. And as you push it through, the wood is getting burnished by the circle that you're pushing it into because it's spinning as you're going. You get a really nice burnished finish on the wood. Doesn't need to be sanded. Turns out really well. As it's spinning through the hole, this chisel, just like it does with a pencil, it's just cutting off the extra to ensure that after you're done pushing it through, the dowel will be the proper diameter. To prep the dowel so that I can use it with my dowel adjuster jig, I used the table saw to cut this end down. Thankfully, this doesn't have to be perfectly round to fit into the chuck. And then you just chuck it up like you would a drill bit. And obviously, you want that exposed part of the dowel to be in the center, so there's less wobble when you're when you're actually pushing it through. Cutting this into the dowel so that it would fit in the drill was actually the most time consuming out of this. Everything else was quick. The last thing that you have to do in order to get the dowel started is just to shave down a little bit of the top so that you can start with some support where the dowel is already supported in the hole that you've already cut, and that definitely is the way you want to do that. And I just used a little block plane to shave down the edge of the beginning part of the dowel. I'll just cut this off with the miter saw when I go to use it. So if you're cutting these in sections, you want to allow for the tail end, which you have to use in the drill, which obviously that's not going to be usable, and then the front end, that's also not going to be the same diameter as the rest of it because you're just using a hand plane and shaving it off so that it'll be a little bit smaller and it'll ease into the jig a little bit easier. The first one I didn't use sandpaper to raise the height of the chisel, and I ended up taking off more of the dowel than I wanted to. It wasn't a lot more, but I wanted the tighter fit. Alternatively, you can just cut the hole so that there's just a small amount exposed and extend the chisel blade up a bit in the front. After adding the sandpaper and raising the height of the chisel, there was a lot less wood that was shaved off the dowel. That turned out amazing. It was way better than the first one I did, and the fit now is exactly what I wanted. It's very snug. I can put a little bit of glue in there and it'll hold it perfectly tight. For the longer dowels, it's definitely worth setting up something to support them on the tail end. You don't want to constrain it, but you want it to support it and help reduce some of the wobble. The dowels are not, at least the ones that I have, are not true, and as they would go through the jig, they're spinning at a high rate of speed, and on the tail end the wobble would become exaggerated, and having something that was just going to support it off of the face and also on the two sides was definitely helpful. So now I can get started working on what I had planned to work on before realizing my 1-inch dowels weren't really 1 inch. And that's my lumber cart. And if you're interested in an overly complex lumber cart with way too many angles, I hope you check out those videos. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.